Straw Hut Media.
Hey everybody, thank you for checking out Release Date Rewind, a podcast that celebrates memorable films and TV shows when they're having big anniversaries. And sometimes I'm lucky enough to chat with a special guest who makes those movies, so you are all in for a treat with this episode. I'm your host, Mark J. Parker, a film lover and a filmmaker, and thank you for listening to this indie self-produced AI-free show, which is part of the Straw Hut Media Network and the You Run Podcast Network, or watching this episode on YouTube. Hi! If you were a kid 30 years ago in the summer of 1995 like I was, you were super aware of what Disney was making and releasing. Honestly, 30 years later, we're all still very aware of what Disney is making and releasing now, with it being obviously one of the biggest, most major movie studios ever, right? Duh. But my guest, Peter Raymundo, who is an artist, animator, illustrator, writer, and honestly super nice guy, was helping make the biggest Disney movies in the 90s and 2000s, from Pocahontas, which just turned 30 this year, to Lilo and Stitch, which just had a very successful remake a few months ago, earlier in 2025, and even more. So I don't want to give too much away because this is such a cool chat about animation, artistry, skill, talent, and working for the most famous company in the world, pretty much, right? So grab your animated friends, wear your cartoon shirts, and get ready to marathon these movies that we're about to discuss on Disney+. There are a lot. All right, everybody, we are pulling up to the castle because it's time to rewind. Everybody, I have Peter Raymundo on the show today, and I am so nerding out. I'm so excited because I met this fine gentleman at 90s Con earlier this year. Have you done a lot of conventions, Peter? Like, I'm sure you just bounce around to all the big ones, yeah?
So, yeah, only the last couple years, though. I started doing, my first convention was called Collective Con. It's in Jackson. I live in Florida, and it was totally by chance. Someone else couldn't make it that had a similar background as me, and asked me if I could do it. And I went. I had no idea what to do, I had been to Mega. There's a really big convention here in Orlando called MegaCon, where like 80, 100,000 people come. But this was not that. This was more like I guess a 10 to 15,000 type person con. But still, I didn't really know what to do. And I had some of my picture books, and this is about, again, 6-7 years ago. So I had like one or two books out with Scholastic, and I didn't know they really wanted to do Disney stuff or what. This is before I didn't even know what a Funko was. Like, I never heard of such a thing. So I went and we talked to people. I made some friends. It was a great experience, but I only did one convention a year for probably 2000. I can't remember if it was 18 or 19, and then none in 2020. I did do one, but it was in very February, so the whole shutdown thing had not occurred quite yet. And then the following year we did one, but it was only one, and then I grew. The same organizer had another one in a different area, so I did 2 a year up until about 2 years ago, 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
And then one thing started to steamroll where, believe it or not, it was the Funkos. It sounds so small, but the fact that somebody was like, have you ever drawn on a Funko or autographed the stuff? And I was like, no, and they're like, you have many, many, many characters that you've worked on, that
Absolutely.
People, I just didn't realize it could be an income at all.
Yeah.
It sounds odd, but I didn't realize that at all, let alone a significant income. And so that's what kind of got me wrong. But by about 2 years ago, I started to really say, okay, how can we refine this? And what do people want from me when they come to meet me? And I started to realize there's a big, I often have a line for a couple hours. Talk about various things, movies, and when we got autographs and stuff like that. Yeah. And I just didn't even realize that was a factor. I just didn't know that kind of demand was out there. But now I do probably, last year was really big. My biggest one probably.
Good.
At least 30.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you did 30 cons in 1 year?
Yeah.
Good for you.
And this year we started to be we've been all over the place, and they different one of the more dynamic ones was going to Hawaii PopCon.
Wow.
which was great because you can imagine Lilo and Stitch is like enormous out there and
I believe it.
very rare. In fact, no one had ever met an animator from the movie there, and
Wow.
so that was pretty good.
That is so cool. I love your life. I mean, what do you love the most doing about doing the cons? Do you love meeting the fans? Do you
Yeah.
love, right?
Okay. So yeah, that's the probably. I won't lie. There's a bit of an income to it, right? So
Oh, good, of
that's
course.
significant,
I
right?
would
It's
hope
not
so.
like
Yeah.
it's not just I'm not just flying for the heck of it, in
Right.
a lot of ways. So there is that. I mean, I spent a lot of time preparing and stuff for it.
Uh-huh.
But besides that, knowing I'm getting able to make a little bit of money doing their art, right? And talking about Disney, and I think that how to put it simply, yes, the fans, right?
Hmm.
And so, but when you're working, when I talk with other creators in animation or just entertainment, when you're working on a show or what movies and stuff, it's you love what you're doing. You want to make great stuff. Especially when you're at Disney especially back then, it's
Yeah.
like this legendary stuff, and like you're so proud of what you're doing, and you're connected to this legacy of great movies and all.
Yeah.
But you hope that it can be long lived. And you know that when you're doing it. Everybody there basically knows that this could be go on forever. Your name's in these credits forever.
Mhm.
Um, but it's still kind of work, right? But then now I'm in this position where a lot I meet fans where they were like 8, 9, 10 when some of these bigger movies came out, and now they're like 28, 29, 30. And Mark, I can tell you, um, I mean, it's even emotional for me to even say, but I can tell you quite a few people, grown
Yeah.
adults, at every show. I would say 10%. Literally, they're waiting in line and they come up to me and literally cannot speak and just start crying.
Aw, yeah.
Can't speak. Can't speak because not that I'm anything. Not because they're like, oh, they don't know who I am. They just know what I've worked on and
Right.
how much those movies. And I would say specifically like Lilo and Stitch is was so valuable to their life
Mm.
as a child, and not just for entertainment, but the kind of deep meanings that were in that movie in particular. It helped. I mean, many of those say this helped me get me through.
Mm.
Um, it helped people get through tough times a
Yeah.
lot of times, and they can't even to be like, wow, you're going to actually need somebody to help make this thing. Is
Yeah.
It's kind of yeah. I mean, and there's other deeper stories I can't even repeat without kind of tearing up because they're
Oh,
like movies. These are big family movies, right? So when you say family, sometimes families, especially if you're talking about a span of 20, 30 years now, they aren't forever, right? People don't live forever, right? And so sometimes this is the last movie, the first movie they saw with somebody, sometimes the first and last movie they saw with somebody,
right.
and or things like that. I mean, and they're there and they want to tell me this and they want to express this to me. And so when you hear, and I hear this every single show, and so when you're there, you for one, I didn't expect that, but man, they say don't meet your heroes. Like you better be really humble and understand. I was lucky to be a part of that,
Yeah.
and just let them say what they have to say
Yeah.
and appreciate that I was a part of something like that, or that I was maybe part of something to help the world a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, that's um, that's some deep stuff, man.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
bigger than just like uh, the show. So every single person, or makes every single show. When me and my Dorothy usually we drive, but sometimes we fly
Yeah.
to places. We'll always talk about like, well, what was like the top moment, and it's always just a person we met, right? One or two people that we met.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's somebody that works there, an organizer was really kind or something like that. But usually it's like, oh man, that one girl or that one
Mm.
person that was really special. And so,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the fans. And I have so many stories you can barely. There's a couple that stand out, but that really that's the big thing.
That's so sweet. Yeah, I mean your designs, the art, the creations you have made with I'm sure a big team of people through the years, right? But
Yes, yeah.
the things you've made are not only big movies, but now you're so right, they're part of families, they're part of memories, they're part of people's personalities, you know? So that's
Yeah.
got to be so wild and cool and probably a little overwhelming at times for you to be like, whoa, okay, like, it was work for you. I'm sure you loved all of it. I hope you did. We'll talk more about it in detail soon. But yeah, then seeing like I'm sure you meet people with like your designs on their bodies in
Yeah, oh, yeah.
tattoos,
I've seen,
right?
I've seen so many Stitch tattoos.
Oh my God.
Like, let me be kind of just clear though that not to split hairs on things. Like,
Yeah.
I was an animator. I did not
Right.
design like Stitch. To be totally clear with that, like
Yeah.
the real designer was more like Chris or
Right.
Byron or like maybe like Alex Cooper Schmidt. So like the supervising animators, directors, character designers, they design the characters.
Yep.
Just because you're using that word, I
Right.
don't want to say like I didn't design any of the
No,
characters. I
this
was
is so
an animator.
helpful. This
Yeah,
is great. This is exactly why I wanted you on the show because we talk about movies we love and all the details. So yeah, can you because I've seen on your IMDb and you've worked on massive
yeah,
movies,
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
Mulan, Lilo and Stitch,
Yeah.
Pocahontas, which just turned 30. So yeah, what can you explain? Because you've had, I see, like breakdown artist, cleanup artist.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you kind of run us through like what are the differences with these different roles that you've
Yeah.
had?
I think the easiest way might be just a very basic pipeline
Yeah.
or workflow.
Yeah.
So in general, Lilo is a little bit different because there we had the writers, directors, storyboard artists, designers were kind of the same people, but usually they're a little bit more distinct. But in general, you'll have the Disney back then. You'd have often two directors. We'll say the directors then, and the producers. So that's kind of the head people,
Mhm.
and then writers. So often you'd have like screenwriters as well,
Yeah.
and then storyboard artists and like heads of story. Head of story meaning head of storyboard, and that would mean well they're the best storyboard artists basically for the heads of the storyboards. So those main people. And then also a team of like the supervising animators. And at Disney, that's a big term. When you say a supervising animator, that's like the big like Glenn Keane and like if you know who that is, like Andreas, and like the top supervisors, and they earn those positions. They're not there just for the heck of it.
Right.
But those few people will more beat out the whole movie in general with maybe an editor or something like that. But like we're talking, I don't know what the right number is, but like 20, 30 people, like very
Mm.
few will beat out this whole what is the story, right? You have the concept. You say you want to do American, Native American story or Beauty and the Beast, or whatever, and they have the basic concept, and they'll like put it on what they call a reel, and the reel is like a movie like you can watch it, right? And so that'd be mostly storyboard. Sometimes whatever it takes to make the whole reel. So it'd be like scratch music, meaning temporary
Yep.
music, temporary dialogue. Sometimes even parts of other movies or something just to get the point across, right?
Mm.
And so that's just something to say this is in 90 minutes. This is what we're kind of talking about.
Mhm.
And then character design and all that stuff kind of goes in there, casting of the voices and stuff.
Right.
But then it gradually, morphs into an actual film. Okay, this is the basic story we have, and then things might change, but we know these are the main songs, these are the main characters, and you can pitch it really. This is really what it is. Gradually, things get more and more locked down. Okay, so then, like someone like me, I'm not even on a movie. Well, most animators, you're not even on a movie for like a year or two. Like, right, you're working on they overlap basically,
Right.
and so you'll have because you need the story. Like it goes from storyboard, voice recording, and then that can even be scratched. But like at some point, you can't get the animation until you have the actual voice, right?
Yep.
And so then from there you go from like storyboard to like layout. Okay, so then there's a couple phases of layout, which ends up with like that's like the actual background. It's not painted. Not the background is the painted background, but the layout is the actual drawing of that painting. Okay, and
Okay.
so then all that can be put into the reels. I can workbook into like these are the actual key poses and the timing in a reel. So this is the exact voice, the exact timing, the exact kind of poses in a way that is in this shot. Shots make up the scenes, and the scenes make up the sequences.
Let's see. Okay.
But all that gets kind of locked down into the layout, and the cleanup layout is like locked in, and then that can go into like with a supervising animator usually, or animators then would rough out like the key. This is really the motion going on here, and then from rough animation, then it goes into the cleanup animation. That's where I was in. I was in cleanup animation, character animation,
Yeah.
and this is before effects animation. But the difference between rough animation and cleanup animation, in a general sense, when you're like in that realm back then, people would refer to like if you say I'm an animator. That means rough animation.
We'll be right back.
For over 70 years, the Walt Disney Studios has won the hearts of audiences with the most enchanting, delightful, and lovable characters the world has ever known. The tradition.
Hey, that's not Simba.
But character cleanup, that became really important once this was referred to as the CAP system. This is the coloring system.
Okay.
Because like on Mulan was a good example where those lines need to close really well because of the way it's tapped to color fill it. But cleanup became super, super important and very tedious. It's probably one of the more expensive processes because you have all this movement, but it's got to look exactly like the character all throughout. Like, so the drawings are on screen. Those are like my drawings. Like those are cleanup drawings.
Cool. Okay.
Then it'll go from rough to cleanup to effects, and then to some version of coloring, which is kind of complex because you have the backgrounds, and then you have the color, and they're colored to the backgrounds on some level, like so they make sure they match. I don't know if that's said correctly, but like it goes from like cleanup then to color, and then again into reels, and then there's effects, and there's not a lot. But the movies I worked on did not have a lot of CG effects,
Right.
But they did have some. Like in Lilo, gosh, I don't know how much I can say about there was a certain amount of CG effects, you know. And
Oh, interesting.
And even Beauty and the Beast, I think had certain amount of it. Like I think everyone knows that the hyena, or I mean the wildebeest in Lion King, you know, where all those are CG.
Yeah.
This was really way back then. I mean, it was amazing what they did because
yeah.
the physics that they had going now is a piece of cake. I mean, you can almost do that on a home computer, but back then that was cutting edge.
Wow. Yeah, you were there at a time, I'm sure, where you were seeing innovation and changes to things, right? Because from the 90s to the early 2000s, what an interesting time for film in general, but especially, animated movies, you know? Wow.
Yeah. So just to finish that off is then you'll go to finally you can have like a final color. There can be some rough in there still or even uncolored. But then one of the final things is final sound, which would be sound effects and the score.
Yep.
And then this final edits and stuff like that. But
yeah.
So there's there's about 300 people, like at our Florida studios, about 300 people, and they're in these departments. And yet you don't really go outside of your department. You're a high specialist in what you do.
Right.
And so one of the reasons I was able to work on so many movies is because I was in character cleanup, and I was I will at least say that I think I was particularly fast, and I worked for a certain number of years. I was really just a work machine, and that's how I got picked to kind of be on certain help because I would help out.
Yeah.
Like so, at the Florida studio, we did the 3 big movies everyone knows we did Mulan, Lilo and Stitch, and Brother Bear. So those are the 3 that I was on for long periods of time. But in between there, I helped out on, like I said, like 6, movies and the shorts and stuff. And so, Tarzan was really made, I believe. I don't know if it was made in France predominantly, or Glenn was. I think it was there was a French studio, but I know a lot of the animators were in France.
Yeah.
But we helped out. I helped out on Jane for about 6 months.
Wow.
And then. So, but like on Mulan or like Lilo, I was there like 3-4 years. I mean, you're a long, long time.
That's amazing.
Like Emperor's New Groove, I was working on Cusco. I worked on Cusco Llama, but at the same time that Lilo was still just starting. So I was on Lilo, and I go to Lilo meetings and do some scenes with that. But I was predominantly on Emperor's New Groove until they got finished.
Wow. So that's so interesting, Peter. So yeah, you're mostly working on those movies. Now, what about the earlier ones? Because I see on your IMDb, you know, special edition, DVD edition. So was that the kind of thing where you're working on like the theatrical movies, but because of these old movies coming back on home video, then they would pull you to do some tweaks? Is that?
Yes. Well, I don't know if tweaks is quite the right word, but in Lion King, yes, that would be the right word. So there's 3 movies that I was lucky to have any part of. So it's Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, and Pocahontas.
Right.
So, when it came out, remember, you might actually, just looking at you, I'm guessing like you don't really remember firsthand. Did you ever have VHSs?
Oh yes. Okay, I definitely did. Oh, yeah.
So that was the big thing. Right? Lion King to this day, and probably forever, will be the highest selling VHS ever. I mean, nothing goes, unless there's some fluke thing happens.
Right.
Nothing will ever touch what Lion King did with the VHS. But that was the big thing, was these big, VHSs. Now, thinking about VHSs, those were great. But once DVDs came, remember, there was a whole era, and I love that era. I miss that era of all this special edition DVD stuff.
Absolutely.
Because you have all this behind the scenes and the artwork in the DVD packaging. That was all great. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And so Disney, in their wisdom there, was they saw years ahead of time to say, okay, these movies are going to be re-released in these different editions, including especially a 10-year edition. And it takes, you can imagine, just say we're going to have, okay, the biggest movie ever we're going to put out, and all these movies, it better be good. You can't just put some slop out there. What can we do to resell the same movie? And so for Beauty and the Beast, it went to Broadway. Right? In fact, a lot of them went to Broadway and won Tony Awards and stuff. Right. So there was a song that Alan Menken had written it's called Human Again, that was on Broadway. And they said, like, this is perfect. It was in the movie, actually, mostly animated, but they took it out for pacing reasons.
Okay.
Rightly so. But they're like, look, for a DVD, this is perfect. We'll get the same Pedro O'Hara, like same voices, all the same voices. We have the same crew, but then we can add that song back in. And then in the re-release, you can watch like a theatrical release of it, or on DVD, but with the song in. And so I worked on Human Again. And that, which was, for me, amazing, because when I was in college, when that came out, I was a freshman, in fact, in 91, when that came out, it totally influenced what I was going to do in my life. But to have, I have one of those, it sounds small, but I have one of those jackets. I have a crew jacket of that. A Beauty, they're like a Letterman jacket. It has huge B. Yeah. My name, it says Beauty and the Beast on the back, and it's just like, the only handful of people have those, a couple hundred in the world have those. And so I know my names are Beauty and the Beast. And so I worked on Belle and the Beast, and then some of the miscellaneous characters. And then kind of partially because I worked on Belle on that, when Lilo and Stitch, there was commercials when he went into other movies. I don't know if you remember that. He was kind of messing up. Okay, so I worked on Belle on that Beauty and the Beast when he crashed down, and then she's like, "I'll be in my trailer."
Wow.
Or get your own trailer, something like that. So I worked on Belle.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So similar things with Pocahontas. So I worked on If I Never Knew You. That was a song that they had, same thing, had taken out and put back in. But I worked specifically just on the character of Pocahontas.
Wow, that is really, what a cool job to do, where you're adding to the film. And I agree. I miss the days of all those special extras and stuff on DVDs that now we don't, with streaming.
It's sad because that was a big deal.
Yeah.
So many behind the scenes. Things like you can kind of get this stuff, but you really have to search. But that was a selling point. How much extra stuff could we get?
Oh, yeah. Deleted scenes, bonus features. Yeah. So you were enhancing the experience with these.
Now you really don't even have it. It's almost not even a thing.
Yeah. It's sort of like, okay, if they cut it, whatever. When it's like, no, some great stuff is cut, Yeah. So that is really cool. Out of all the films back then that you worked on at Disney, I'm sure they're all great in many ways, but what would you say was your favorite to work on?
So, man, it's funny to say. People ask me that obviously all the time, but and
what was your least favorite? Oh, I don't know if you want to go there.
And I wouldn't be able to say that probably, but my favorite is a tie. But for different reasons, between Mulan and Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
And I would say Mulan. So when you're working on these movies, you're on it for a couple years.
Yeah.
And you kind of don't really remember sometimes the movie as much as what you were doing in life while you're making that movie. Right. And so that's kind of what I think about when I think about Mulan. But Lilo and Stitch I knew that movie was special. When we were making that movie, oh man, you just knew every screening was hilarious. And I was on Lilo mainly. And so her voice was amazing. Remember that this doesn't exist, right? There is no Lilo and Stitch, right? We're hearing it scene by scene as we're creating it. And so when you hear the dailies, when you hear that girl, DeVay, just doing this, I'm already in my room, or I also worked on Nani quite a bit, but when you just hear their lines, you're like, oh, that's just so unique. The humor was so just a little bit strange,
Yeah.
Like when she says he wanted me to join his army of the undead, and there's this upshot of her face, And she's like, I knew it. It's like this so bizarre a
Yeah.
line. That was the
Uh,
perfect thing that sums up a lot of the humor in Lilo and Stitch.
yeah.
You just knew special stuff was going on with that.
Yeah, and that's cool that those two are your favorites because they're pretty different. You know, Lilo and Stitch is a little funky for sure, and Mulan, oh my gosh, so classic. Like that's just kind of a good, straightforward, more dramatic one, you
Yeah.
know? So that's
Also, on Lilo, now I work with the. I mean, at Florida, we had really A-list supervising animators. We had Ruben, Mark there, obviously, and like Aaron, some top guys there.
nice.
But on Lilo, Andreas Deja was the supervising animator on Lilo,
Okay.
and I knew him, for a couple years, and that was like to me like he was one of those. If you're not in 2D animation, you might not know who that is, but in that world, he's like one of the he's the Mount Rushmore. He's one of them. He did like
Nice.
Jafar and Scar and Gaston,
Wow.
and so here he was. And when I first met him, and then anyway, he's even been to my house. I mean, he was just the nicest dude, the
Yeah.
nicest guy, super passionate. Everyone knows that about Andreas. He's like so passionate about animation, a work machine, and that was really a big highlight of my whole career, was just to kind of work with Andreas.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure you worked with so many great, talented people.
Oh,
So now with Lilo, when you were working on Lilo, so that wasn't cleanup, that was breakdown.
no,
So,
the same thing though. No,
oh, is
cleanup.
it the same thing?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
cleanup's a general term. I
Oh,
mean,
okay, got it, got it. Okay.
like you have rough and cleanup
Oh,
basically, and
okay.
there's like a hierarchy of supervisors top on down. I
Yeah.
mean, like the head, so the super and rough, this it was called a supervising animator, and then I don't know what you'd call it that going downward, the
Yeah.
animators, I guess.
Okay.
There's like rough in between. The lowest probably of rough animators would be a rough in between,
Oh, okay.
and then
Interesting.
maybe there's like a lead animator, a key animator, or something like that. But they're all like in rough. And then in cleanup, the top supervisor is called a lead key, and those are pretty big. They can make or break your whole career, man. A lead
Wow.
key, they're the supervisor of these characters, and they all. I'll say this again: they all earn that spot. Like
Hmm.
there's not like never would you say, oh man, what's that guy doing there?
Right.
They are the best in the world at that spot. So like Dan, it was like the lead on like Lilo or on Mulan.
Yeah.
Dan is like he is so good. Or like I worked with Tom Fish, this guy. I went to college with him too on three different movies, and I mean we went to the same college. But
Yeah.
Tom, it's God, dude, you're talking about, I mean they're so good. They're
Yeah.
so good at
Wow.
doing what they did.
I
Uh,
would hope so. I mean, with
yeah,
Disney's
no, it's
legacy,
like as good
right?
as like 10 out of 10 good. Like you often, and I'm no slouch really at what
Of
I'm
course not.
doing. And I'm telling you, there's so many days you're just literally looking, forget the animation, just looking at the drawing
Right.
and saying, wow,
Oh
this is
God.
amazing. And so, yeah, I mean, but anyway, cleanup, there's a whole hierarchy within that too.
Wow. This is so cool. So yeah, so films back then, and maybe even still today with animation, they take forever, you know, but back then, yeah,
Yeah.
you're like you said, you're on a film for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Were there times when they were like, okay, we need more time, like we're gonna extend you,
I
or
don't
less
know.
time, the opposite, like, okay, deadline's approaching faster now. Like, what was the
No,
timing like?
I don't think they, in the movies, I was there and I was there for a while. I don't think they ever moved it back because
Okay.
they say the release date like a couple years in advance.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I will say, okay, so I imagine from an outside you might not be aware of this, but so there's a term in animation, at least back then, it was referred to as crunch time.
Mm,
Crunch time, every animator knows that crunch time is two thirds, about two thirds of the movie is done in the last one third of time. And the reason for that is because remember I said only a few people are on at the beginning, and you have
yeah.
to work out the scenes so
Mhm.
like exactly the shot, right? And it's very. It's not like in live action where you just film stuff and you cut it together. It has to be drawn and it has to be exact. So you can't even have animators on a scene if you don't have it designed out yet. You can't have even a supervisor do it or any animators do it if the layout's not done. And
Mhm.
so by the time that like say the last third move of the movies, it's around that time frame. Everything's ready. I mean, you can have all hands on deck because the pipeline is all there's room for everyone to be working on in this pipeline. Super organized. I mean, very organized pipeline
Mhm.
of what to do. And so I would say that the hardest. No, I don't know if they've ever moved it back. I've never seen not all those times, but they
Yeah.
do you do have to do more hours.
I've heard a great deal about you, Mulan. But soon the world will know the great things you have done.
The hardest was Mulan. I mean, anyone that worked on Mulan, if everyone you guys listen to this, I mean, I remember about a year out. That's when it started to get they say that there's an in the can date. That in the can means it's really it's done.
Right.
From that in the can date, about a year out, you start to do overtime. So overtime, you generally work like Monday to Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 9 to 6 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
But then they would start to have like 8 hours, during the week, and then kind of like 8 hours mandatory. Now, when you say 8 hours, for what I did, I mean, it's very scheduled. You can't be like there's a amount you have to do, right? It's not like you're just there doing nothing. So, and then they'll gradually get to where it's like maybe 15 hours, and then maybe 20 hours, and then gradually a mandatory 6 day, and that'll be for a while, overtime plus the 6 day, and then on Mulan though, I don't want to know how much I can say about like all what we do, but there's a lot of overtime. You go to where you can go 7 days. And Mulan was like the most I worked on yet. I mean, it was a lot. But then the funny part is once you when you're done, it really is done. I mean, you're going from 7 days for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, all day. You're there all day, and your brain can only handle so much.
Yeah.
And you can't, mind you, the quality is Disney quality. It's not like you can swap something out.
Right.
But then when you're done, you'd have like literally nothing to do. Like your scenes are done. Wow. And you have a couple months sometimes of
right.
like just kind of like working on smaller projects or whatever. But there's a funny thing where I work kind of like 7 days a week, but I make my own hours and stuff like that. But like then when you have to be there, right? You know, working on these scenes 7 days a week. And then when you don't have anything, it's funny, even 1 day off is so refreshing.
Oh, I believe it. Oh, I know. Yeah.
100-hour weeks like that under really tremendous, I don't want to say pressure, but the quality level is very high.
Yeah.
For every single drawing, right? I mean, it's every hour you pump out like these drawings like every hour, and then it's got to be very good. That's pretty hard. But that Mulan was the toughest. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I know I kind of rambled on a little bit.
No, that is fascinating. Yeah, your brain, your eyes, your hand, like everything must have just been so exhausting. But I hear you. Yeah, you're going from 7 days nonstop for a while to then once it's done, it's kind of the other extreme of now like, all right, I don't really have a ton going on. So it's kind of, but that's sort of film in general too, like
I think so, yeah. Right? When you're doing film, because what's done is done.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is that these I have a lot of flashbacks as I'm saying that of the many days of doing that. But you have complete trust in all of your other, I guess, coworkers you could call them, but the other people on your crew, and your, other animators and stuff. You have total trust in their ability, 100% trust. These people, they only hire about 10 people a year, Disney.
Wow.
And for years. So I mean, we're talking they're the best of the best people.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people. I was like one of my group. They called them these internships for quite a few years. It actually wasn't 10; it was 11. But I mean, Dawn, this guy, man, they were so good. I mean, I just can't say enough about the level of work ethic and ability of animators, of artists in Disney animation in the 90s is. I don't know. It's a 10 out of 10. You cannot. There is no flaw in the ability of the artists that were there.
I believe it. Absolutely. It was like an iconic time. I mean, Disney's always been iconic and will always will be, but especially in that era, I mean, wow. Oh my gosh, you guys were
so many people, man. Dude, I've seen. I can go on and on, but just like the people that they're unsung. A lot of them, you don't even know. But I saw, like, I don't say so many people's names because I don't, know if they want me to say their names. But there's this one guy that did. When I saw his test on Brother Bear, of the rough animation of that mother bear roaring and Daly, I was like, first of all, bears are kind of hard to draw, but just seeing that bear when she stands up and just like that roar and like that quiver of the lips, I just remember thinking, like, man, like, and seeing it in his office, like this, he's flipping through that. I was like, dude, this is like unbelievable stuff, you know.
Wow.
And so, and you like it, no matter who you talk to, no matter where you go, you're seeing somebody working on Mushu or like Cobra Bubbles or whoever, you know, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
They're like all so good, you know, and
Yeah.
you see everybody's scenes and I can go on, but like, it's like people often ask, like, you know, what was it like? And it's like, it's like the greatest of the great, really.
Yeah, you're just among really great company. That's amazing. Well, Peter, in our remaining time, I want to hear what you've been doing more recently because I know you've also illustrated and written books, children's
Yeah.
books. So tell me about that. Like you got some
Okay.
cool stuff going on.
I do. Luckily, so quite a while ago, I basically was able to get, I had these partners and I was able to have books published, so picture books. So one of my main passion actually isn't really drawing or even animation. It's storytelling, really.
Mhm.
And anyone that knew me for a long time, I enjoy writing a lot, probably more than drawing. I feel that that's kind of more of my knack in a way. Um, but anyway, I got into doing these picture books early a while ago, and that's a hard endeavor to get into be a published author on a big scale
Yeah.
is difficult. But I was able to do it. I have a kind of a really pretty prestigious agent and literary agent, and
Good.
so and this happened when I get that probably about 10 years ago or so,
Okay.
and it was my picture books. But then one of my bigger breaks was I have a I wrote and illustrated a chapter book, two chapters for Scholastic, like I don't know if they have Scholastic book fairs, like that.
Right, of course.
And
Yeah.
so that was really to go from picture books where I was mainly they didn't have many words in it, and I was mainly the co-writer and illustrator.
Mhm.
And so to go to be the writer illustrator of an actual 200-page chapter book, and they're all illustrations throughout, but you're like more considered like a writer after that
Wow.
point. And that was a total game changer as far as my writing kind of career goes. And they were in every book fair everywhere, you know,
Wow.
in America. And so and then I had a sequel from that. And then
And
my
these are
editor,
the Monkey Goes Bananas
no,
and
sorry, those are the picture books. Those are my first
okay, those are the picture books. Okay.
the Scholastic books are called Third Grade Mermaid,
Okay.
the Third
Yep.
Grade Mermaid series, and then there's book 1 and 2. But so basically, my editor at Scholastic kind of left Scholastic and it went to Random House,
Okay.
and she's kind of one of the main. I don't know what her title is at this point, but they're one of the top editors at what's called Dial Books for Young Readers, and that's like an imprint of um, Random House, Penguin Random House.
That's great.
Imprint means just like it's a division, basically,
Yep.
and they focus on certain things. So Dial Book for Young Readers, and Nancy is like one of the main people there, but an incredible editor. I mean, Nancy, if you have the thing about great editor is they can pick a book that they know they can see the book out, but they're like they know it's your vision, and they're like they understand what you're trying to do, understand your humor. And I have kind of the humor that I have in general. I think, especially in my writing, is this kind of sarcastic, a little bit humor. Like the reader should. I do a lot of play on words, like and I so like that in a kind of a sarcastic way sometimes. And so anyway, Nancy really gets that, and so now I think my 5th book was with them, and so my last book came out last year was my kind of probably my it might be my biggest seller. The Thurgood Mermaid did pretty well, but
Nice.
it's called Lucky Scramble, and that was I don't know if I have
I see the poster behind
the
you.
poster, yeah.
Yes.
I don't have a lot of people. Wait, oh, I do have one. So this is my first graphic novel, right? And
Love
so actually, it's called a hybrid graphic novel. So there's a lot of words in there too.
Nice.
But this took a long time. My books are generally based off of something that's kind of in real life. Like the first ones, the monkey ones, were not. Those were more of really a collaboration between these 2 other partners of mine at the time. So those are not as much mine. Artistically, yeah, but like story-wise, no.
Okay.
But Third Grade Mermaid so Third Grade Mermaid, yeah, I mean it's about mermaid, but all the ocean, her friends, and a lot of stuff that's in the ocean is all really highly researched. I mean, there's real creatures that I didn't know about until I started researching. Well, how do I like what kind of friends would she have in the ocean and stuff like that, and the places she goes and things like that make it very ocean oriented.
Mhm.
And then like the I Am Not a Fish is really about jellyfish, really about this jellyfish who has this kind of an identity crisis because he's called something he's not, meaning a fish, and
Right.
he's talking to an underwater group, a support group made up of starfish who have like the same problem. But then the mysterious sea bunny is really just about a sea bunny, which is actually a sea slug,
Oh,
and they look. I mean, if you've ever seen such a thing, they really look like little bunnies. They're like that big,
wow.
but it's just talking about following the sea bunny and this one kind of a you never see them on the page, but like this loud like kid is talking to like a teacher sounding person,
Yeah.
and he's just describing all these things about like what makes this sea bunny so magnificent. And So then from that one, it took me a little bit of like, what was I going to do after that? But this book, this really, in many ways, it's many years in the making of even getting to this. But my son, way back in like 2020-ish now, was really into speed cubing. Right, so it's like solving Rubik's cubes.
Oh, yeah.
Not Rubik's cubes, but that's the brand name. But they're the speed like cubes,
Yeah.
and you go to competitions and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so this is how like sometimes books can be even made. So we were at the ALA, which is the American Library Association. They have this annual meeting, and it's big. At least it used to be really big.
Yeah.
And I was there for signing books, and my agent was there, and he met me on the outside. This is in Washington D.C., and my son had a cube, just holding it. And most people have probably never even seen somebody solve one for real, let alone solve one fast. So generally, Dan asked my agent, if Andrew, if could you solve that?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I can. And so Andrew at the time could solve it in maybe 10 to 15 seconds around there. And so when he saw that, Dan was pretty blown away, and asked him, is there a fastest time, or is there like a race? He's like, well, yeah. And at the time it was 3.49 seconds, and Andrew said, but I think that guy had a lucky scramble. And right there, Dan was like, wow, what a title, Lucky Scramble.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of was the real basis of it. And that was early 2020, 2020 or 2019. But I got the actual book deal. Like my editor was there, on the heads of like Random House and stuff were there.
Wow.
They loved the idea. I mean, I was uniquely placed to be able to do a graphic novel and have this knowledge of this speed cubing world that the combined had never been done. And that's the result, was this book. In fact, next week, I'm going to the World Championships, which happens to be in America this year in Seattle.
Oh, cool.
And I'm kind of, I know, basically, I know on a friendly basis, like some of the top people in the world.
Wow, no way. That is so cool. And so you'll be there with your book?
I am, yeah. But they sell the book, yeah.
Good.
So I sign books and stuff like that.
Nice, absolutely, yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, because everybody, if you haven't been to Peter's website, it's raymundoarts.com. Really cool stuff. Great, like, sample images of your books, and I love that each book has its own. You've been able to illustrate each one differently, so that it like stands out in its own way. Like your styles are very diverse. The mermaid one's a little more like round and kind of more youthful, whereas more of the graphic novels are a little bit more kind of excuse my like layman's, but a little more like kind of boxy and shadowed, and and that's really cool. So that you have all different styles, which is so cool.
And I'm first to say that I'm not very good at a character design. I give a lot of credit to she's referred to as the designer, but she's kind of like the art director at Random House or at Dial for my books, the last 3-4 of my books. And she, so when you're doing a book, part of the process, much like a movie, is you have this story. Like you could have the whole books written. Yeah. But then part of the process is designing the characters. And you'll literally have a lineup of this is what the characters. And that was actually quite a process. Yeah. Like what are they like? So in this book, you have like 5 main characters really that are all. So it's about 5 very different characters all converging on a national championship. And so what do they look like? If they're all so diverse, what do they look like? Right? What do they kind of talk like? And that's all. There was a lot of debate that goes back and forth on the names too. They all have meaning. Nothing's not looked at.
Hey Rewinders, isn't Peter's career so cool? I'm pausing our chat for just a moment to say thank you and to shine a light on another podcast that's part of the You Run podcast network, and that is Paranormal Misfits, hosted by Chrissy and Nino. Check that show out, especially now that it's spooky season. It features your favorite besties fearlessly exploring the paranormal, uncovering enigmatic mysteries, unraveling mind-bending conspiracies, and sharing their thoughts on horror, of course. Prepare to be spellbound with new episodes every Saturday evening. I commend them for doing that weekly. I don't have that kind of discipline on this show. All right, everybody, let's go back to Peter Raymundo right after the break.
Pocahontas. For the first time ever, Disney's animators are creating a feature-length motion picture inspired by a true American heroine.
The most challenging part of drawing Pocahontas is going to be trying to capture who she really is.
Even when it's your idea, these are your books. Yeah, of course, when you're working with, Random House, Scholastic, all these big companies. Yeah, it's a group effort.
Yeah.
But probably not nearly as big of a group as those Disney movies, I would hope, right? God.
Not at all. In fact, that's really one of the big pluses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my own art ego going into it, but like that book says Peter Raymundo.
Absolutely.
Beauty and the Beast doesn't say Peter Raymundo. It says Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things about this is these books are mine. They're made to a great amount of input with my editor, editor, and art director.
Yeah.
But in general, they're coming out and they're guiding what is my book.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing. And a lot of times people that work in animation, that work in movies, it's one thing you want to get into that world.
Mm-hmm.
But then a lot of people are kind of like, well, what do you do? What's your thing? Right. And especially as a writer and someone I write a lot, I'm happy to say like, that's my books. I mean, I have my next book comes out in October.
Oh, good.
And, it's called, it's called Moby Duck. It's a picture book.
Nice.
And it's about basically this boy's very epic adventure to find his lost rubber ducky, a giant rubber ducky. But it actually all takes place in his bathtub. And so we go back and forth between his imagination and reality.
Cool.
And it has this, I can't say right now, it has a very, potentially very large endorsement, but I can't really say what it is.
Okay, yeah.
For a couple months, but I hopefully will be do well.
That's amazing. That's exciting. Yeah. Wow. Okay, good. So you got that book coming out in October. What did you say is your latest book that just came out?
Lucky Scramble.
That was Lucky Scramble. Okay. Yeah, that's new.
That was the Sea Bunny, and so writing wise, I don't have. Gosh, I have a couple different ideas. So my process of writing, I'll have like 5 or 6. Sometimes very different ideas. If you notice, all my books are pretty different. I did have the ocean stuff going on.
Yep.
But so I do like animals a bit more. And there's a couple reasons, to be perfectly honest with you. This thing about like the Twilight Zone. Like I love the original Twilight Zone series.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
Oh yeah. Okay,
so Rod Serling, in that group, or mainly Rod Serling is the writer, producer, something was. He was able to parody or speak on social issues in a very dangerous time. I mean, gosh, this was the whole Red Scare stuff going on. I mean, blacklisting was going on, but he was able to point fingers at American social issues by saying, "Oh, no, this is aliens, right? This is on another planet somewhere, right? This is in the future, not now, right? This is in the future." And so people can get away with that a lot easier to be a little bit more, say, this is animals. This isn't the jungle. Right. This isn't America, or this isn't the world. I'm talking about the jungle. And so you can talk about social issues in a lot of ways, a lot easier if it's animals. And so, or robots or whatever, thing like that. And so that's one of the reasons I do kind of prefer doing animals. So my next couple books will probably have animals as the main character.
Yeah. Were you the kind of kid, Peter, were you drawing a lot growing up?
Yeah.
So you've been doing this basically your whole life, would you say?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I was good, but I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And I've always written a lot, like a lot. And so I remember even in 5th and 6th grade, and I still have some of them I loved comic strips. Back then, and I would make my own comic strips. I'd save them, cut them from the Sunday. You could only get them in the Sunday paper, and I would cut them out every Sunday. And I had a whole collection of Garfield or Lois or whatever. And that was how I made my own books. And then I would write my own comic strips. And then I loved comic books. And then I never really got in. I thought I was going to be a comic book artist, but it's just I don't really draw quite like that. And
Yeah.
I think those guys are a whole other level in a way. But like, but
Yeah.
I've always loved drawing. I mean, I could make or break me. You know, like my day would be good or bad if I had a good drawing.
Oh, yeah, I hear that. Do you ever see yourself in the future, working for Disney again or working on a comic book like with like for an IP that's already popular, or do you feel like you found a great lane for yourself because you have so many ideas, just kind of coming up with more of your own original stories?
Well, I think probably both. I wouldn't say, you know, I'm in my 50s here now, and I mean I've worked on. I think I had a certain plan, a certain amount of goals when I was like, say, going out of high school and
Mhm.
going out of college, and I did want to originally. Anyone that people knew me back at Disney. I mean, I did want to be a writer director. That was kind of a goal, and for various reasons that just kind of didn't come to be.
Mhm.
And instead of, I found that like to pursue that, it's a man, that's a big world, Hollywood, and
Mhm.
right, that's you better really want it real bad. And I kind of was able to get into being a writer illustrator, and I feel it's a lot simpler. Like I said, I deal with three people,
Mhm.
and it's I probably will never go into doing movies, but I'm totally satisfied doing books. I mean, that was
Yeah.
actually one of my goals too. But I could say that, I mean, like I also, I don't know if I guess you might not know, but I also did stuff for Marvel. Like I did 15
Oh,
books for. There's a show. It's called Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
okay.
Kind of a popular kid show. It's on Disney Junior and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
Disney or Nick Jr. It's on the Disney streaming channel.
Yep.
Um, but there's books of those episodes, and I did all the pencils. I mean, all the drawings of those books for
Oh,
probably
cool.
15 of them or so.
Nice.
So
Oh,
that was
that's
cool to
great.
work for Marvel. Actually, see the thing coming from Marvel, right? And
Yeah.
Disney. So that said, I've kind of want to say that for myself, I've kind of done it all that I've
Mm.
wanted. I
Hmm.
mean, I wanted to work at Disney movies
Yeah.
and have my name on the credits and work on the animation. I worked on 9 of them. They won
Yeah.
Academy Awards.
Hmm.
I wanted to be a writer and illustrator. This Moby Duck is my 9th published book as a
Nice.
writer and illustrator. I've done at least 30 books for Disney, Hyperion, or Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I've written short films. You know,
Yeah.
I've kind of done it all, right? So
Yeah, you produce things too, I saw
yeah,
online.
yeah,
So yeah, you
on a smaller scale, but yeah,
yeah,
and
of
I think
course.
that my primary goal is to. Well, I told you I was teaching a little
Uh-huh.
bit. We had these camps and stuff like that.
That's great.
Somehow, it starts off with teaching, but my primary goal at this point is giving back. I don't know if that sounds like cheap or not, but
No, that's
um,
beautiful. I hear you.
I mean, I look. I wish I had someone like me when I was younger.
Mm.
I didn't. In fact, I was surrounded by naysayers, basically, and so I learned early on, and I have very deep faith in myself, like unshakable faith in myself, basically. But um, that I think came to be because of such doubt around
Mm.
when I was younger,
Hmm.
and where I was like, if I'm going to make it happen, I got to make it happen. And I just wish there's little things, pieces of information, like saying stop motion or drawing and stuff like that, that I wish I would be a little bit further along
Mm.
quicker
Mm.
if I had some instruction from somebody who knew, and someone who knew it was possible to make it.
Hmm.
And so that's why I do like the film clubs or do these camps or do the teaching that I do.
Yeah.
It's because it's not for the money. Um, it's it's because I really want to. When you see somebody get better, and you see somebody say to you, like, then I've worked with some talented kids, and they're like, "This is what I want to do."
Yeah.
Man, that's and you know, look, everything that's good in my life, everything has come because of drawing. Everything.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
love that.
I got a 4-year scholarship to college
Mm.
because of drawing. I was hired. I didn't graduate college. I went straight. I got recruited from Disney from
Wow.
college to start on Mulan,
Wow.
because how well I could draw.
You were that good. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, that was most people in the '90s, by the way. That's not
Yeah.
just me. That was most people. They had to
Wow.
even. Yeah, I won't go into that, but that was most people were that good.
Yeah.
Because you could why would you leave? Of course, if they're going to offer you a job to work on a movie or get a degree, I'm
Of
working
course.
on a movie.
Yeah. Whatever, right?
Yeah, but everyone, all my friends, my wife, I mean, everything everything I have
Mhm.
is because of the books being published. I travel all around the place. I speak with people all around the world, all because of my ability to draw pictures. I mean, it's almost hard to believe, really. And so
Right.
but I tell people that, yes, you can do that. If you like drawing, you can have an incredible career. You can travel all over. You can influence people. You can make people laugh. You can influence people's lives just with being a master at your craft. And
Mhm.
so I just try to get into scenarios of speaking. It's one of the reasons, like you said, doing the cons is like the primary thing is I'm speaking to people, a lot of students who are they want advice usually, like, and I talk about a little bit about drawing and stuff, but really I just talk about the psychology of succeeding and
Mm.
not being afraid to be obsessed with that thing and stay clear on that
Yeah.
thing. And so, yes, I could see myself working at Disney if it was the right movie and project and I mean, it would really have to be the
Yeah.
right project.
Right.
Um, Other books, I definitely want to do books, right? Because
Yeah.
I love writing, and I'm definitely for sure going to make more books. I
Yeah.
want to have my books made into movies and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But all that, man, I mean, that's just cherry on top. I mean, it sounds so small, and there's a couple hundred other people that I know that I worked with at Disney, but I don't ever forget when I was in college, dreaming of maybe one day having my name on the Lion King I remember seeing the Lion King in theater. Like there's a little mouse. I know the guy did the mouse now a little bit, but Andreas did Scar. So Scar's picking up the mouse. I remember thinking to myself, "What was that like? They're doing that mouse. If I could just do a little part of just like a mouse,
Yeah.
my name. So you see all those names going in those credits." When I was in college, the line when Disney came to recruit, it's hundreds and hundreds just at my school.
Yeah.
Thousands, tens, everyone knows this back there. Tens of thousands of portfolios, and they hired 10.
Wow.
It's like, I remember what that was like, and
Yeah.
I've already done it. I've done it.
Right.
And so anything else, I'm just thankful for
Yeah.
and just trying to like live the dream like that. I mean, I don't want to be, I honestly, I don't have any more goals. I have goals, but just like, what else can you want? I've done it.
Right. Well,
If
yeah.
I can better other people's lives, my life's already what it's going to be,
Oh
man.
yeah, you've already touched so many people, and I would think I totally agree with you. Once you're creating your own stories and you're getting them published and you're riding that wave, I mean, that's like the dream. Because then that way, I mean, sure, you might have people to brainstorm with and talk to, but that's your vision, that's
Yes,
yours,
yes, it is.
like
It
no
is.
one else to be like, meh. So
Yeah.
that's amazing, and I love that you teach. Teaching is so. Do you ever do classes for adults? Because let me
Kind of
know.
do sometimes, yeah. No, I do sometimes. I used to
Okay.
do even like teach painting and stuff.
Yeah.
It's yeah, and this kind of touches on. I'll just try to be brief on this, but in entertainment,
Yeah.
there is there's, and I'm super competitive in general, but there's kind of an element of egos in entertainment.
Oh yeah.
And it's very easy to think of, oh, that person is doing this, or that person, oh man, his movie was bigger than mine, or I started with so and so and now they're doing this or whatever. And the reason I say about what I'm doing is I have to get past that in a way to be like, does that better the world? Does that help anybody to be envious? Or if it drives you to be better, great. But like, I like for now, I'm very, very satisfied with what I've done, I think. And I
Mhm.
just really, if I never had another thing published or made again, but I could help 100 people start their careers, then I would choose that.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows? Maybe you'll have your own studio with like your own group of animators or something, right? Your camps and
That's
your classes can like start to funnel them into, I don't
That's
know.
kind of possible. I mean, I've done stuff where like you give people little breaks too. Like, so I do my book trailers sometimes,
Oh, cool.
and I'll have sometimes kids do the voices, and they're actual, like literally actual trailers
So
for like
smart.
Random House or Scholastic. This
Yeah.
girl that did the Third Grade Mermaid trailers,
Yeah.
she's like a little actress now, and she was when she was like 10, I think maybe second grade or something like that.
Wow.
She was amazing doing
Wow.
the trailers, but that was not her break, but it was like they can always go back to this thing that was an actually nationwide thing, and I
Yeah.
just saw them in a talent show.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so smart and so cool. I love that. See, yeah, you never know. You never know what brings you to other people and how you can work with each other, even if it's just like a fun little thing that then becomes something like it's all so cool. I
Yeah.
love it.
Now, the Walt Disney Studio is preparing its 30th full-length animated feature film, Beauty and the Beast. And we have a rare opportunity to go behind the scenes and see firsthand just how the magic is made.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Katzenberg, chairman of the Walt Disney Studios. At Disney, when we set out to make an animated feature, the first thing we look for is a very special story and unforgettable characters.
Look, I even get starstruck. These are the big dogs, right? I mean, you say like Jodie Benson, everyone knows who that is. Like Peter Raymundo, no one knows who that is. I was just like a cog, right? But like she's the voice of Ariel.
Right.
And I met her when I was at the studio. This is way, way back, but she came to the studio a couple times, and it's funny, almost more confident in talking to her. You know, like I was an animator, but like I met her at a show a couple times now, but. Like I even get nervous talking to her, you know. It's like, and I feel like I know how people get to talking to me, but I'm like, you have no idea. Like that, when I saw the making of The Little Mermaid in like 1989, it changed the trajectory of my entire life. And I mean, sure, someone like her hears that all the time, but there she is, right there in front of me, man. And it's like, and I always make sure I know that they give them the respect that is due.
Right. Oh yeah. She's just as iconic as you know the animated Ariel. I mean, she is the voice and right? Oh, that's so cool.
I had the honor of meeting quite a few people.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I believe it.
At the studio, you meet quite a few people, but they're part of my Disney family.
Yeah.
Forever.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely. I mean, like we said, you guys have made iconic movies that I mean people just love. Like it goes back to how we started. These movies are part of not only like the upbringing of kids, but like just hold special memories in people's hearts and minds. So that is really cool. So your name in those credits, that means a lot, not only to you, but to all of us that like are just in awe of these great movies, you know, great stories. Yeah.
I have a son he's almost 19, but he was born after I was done with Disney.
Oh wow, yeah.
You know, right? So I mean, it's kind of like I think I was working on Princess and the Frog actually one day.
Okay. Yeah.
But like the main run, and so like he does not know what it was like to go through that time.
Jeez.
Like I remember when The Lion King came out at 10 years, it was a #1 movie again for that weekend when it first came out, and we were there. We went and saw it.
Oh yeah.
My name, goes by, and it's like you just kind of see it as this thing that I used to do. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Isn't that so wild? Meanwhile, I was there seated in the theater, jaw dropped, growing up seeing these classics. But yeah, it's, that's cool though. That's something Dad used to do. And as he gets older, I'm sure he'll find it even cooler and cooler because these movies will last the test of time, the things you've worked on. That's amazing, Peter. Any last things you want to say before I let you go? Any advice for any young animators, designers out there? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I do, and it's not artistically. I don't. They know what to do. I think the world has changed. Technology has changed a lot.
Yeah.
Master your craft, and I think that, I think in life, I've found that the people who succeed in art or in anything, they just stay focused on what matters, focus on what they're doing. And it's also, how many times do you hear anybody, even people who've made it and they're famous and super successful, and their whole lives or careers are ruined by something that is not only unsavory maybe, but just something that has nothing to do with their career, right? Something totally different in their career. And one thing I've learned long, long time ago is stay tunnel vision on that goal and on just doing that. Don't let anything sidetrack you from work hard, live simple, save your money, be obsessed with what people are going to respect later in life, help others. And that's it. I mean, that's all. I mean, it's a little bit easier for me to say because I've learned through life, right? I'm older and I've kind of made it and I can just work on stuff and I know I'm going to get paid to do it and stuff. But it's just stay focused on it. That's the only thing I ever think about is just work. That's all I want to do. That's all I've ever wanted to do. was just draw. I wanted to make it to college. I wanted to make it to Disney. I wanted to get books published. And that's just stay focused on that, and you'll be okay. Eventually you'll make it. But just the world is just filled with all kinds of negativity and noise, and it just comes and goes. Just stay focused on your goal, and you'll make it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. And it helps me too. I've been procrastinating too much. So we got to focus, everybody. We got to stay focused and make good stuff. I love that. Well, Peter, thank you so much. This was amazing. And I knew you'd be an inspiration. And I'm sure all the fellow nerds out there will love this episode just like I did, because you've made some really cool stuff. So we appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you reached out.
Yeah.
I'm
so glad we met.
Are you in Connecticut? Is that where you're?
I'm in New Hampshire, so I'm even more north. Yeah, but I went down there, and that's how we met. 90s Clown, and I remember I think you were drawing Scar. I think I have a video of you, and I was like, oh my God, and seeing the poster, I was like, wow, like this is cool. Like some of these celebs, I'm like, okay, sure, hi, but no, I was like, wow. Mr. Raymundo, oh my gosh, yes.
I appreciate you guys. I like your site. I looked up what you're doing. It looks like
thanks.
How long you been on? Is it a year, a couple years?
For this pod, this will be 5 years this fall.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, all different kinds of movies, no specific genre. I like them all, so, and I don't get to talk too much about like animated stuff, so I thought this could be fun to have you on and to celebrate just these great, movies that no one hates. If anyone hates any of these movies you worked on, I'm like, I don't trust you, right? Something's wrong,
I've actually, well, of course they wouldn't tell me probably, but yeah, I've never heard somebody say,
no.
I don't like Mulan.
Oh my God.
I've never heard someone say that. Or
they're crazy.
Yeah,
they're crazy.
I think that low quality.
Exactly. Oh my God. Like literally the opposite, right? The Lion King is, I just love that you were part of that. It's so cool.
I'm going to be at another 90s con in December.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. Is that the one where they do, they do two a year now, I think, 90s con, right?
2 or 3.
Wow.
Maybe 2, man. So 2 or 3.
Cool.
But I know that the next one I'm scheduled to be at is in New Jersey.
Oh, good. Okay.
A Christmas con. It's not quite as 90s as the one I met you at.
Yeah, in March. Yeah.
But anyway, I like that. Great. You've been there. That's an incredible.
It's a great. Yeah, that was really fun. That was my first time finally going, but friends I went with had gone, and yeah, so that was a good one to be at. And I remember you were right next to some other illustrators and
shout
designers.
Out to Jacobus. He's an illustrator of all the covers of Goosebumps.
Goosebumps. Yep. I'm gonna reach out to him and see if he wants to come on too.
Remember I said my very first con?
Yeah.
I went to a long time. He was next to me.
Oh, fun.
Tim. And so that's when we first met, and we've seen each other evolve. He's seen me evolve into it, but I was like, who's next to me? This guy.
That's so cool. Yeah.
The dummy.
Yes. Oh God. Yeah. You both have created like some iconic images in pop culture and film, TV.
He's a nice dude. He's a totally normal dude. He's a guy. Tim. Oh yeah.
Oh.
I actually only see him at the cons, but
right.
Just the nicest guy.
Oh, I love that. See, you got your con friends. I love that.
Yeah, I do. My con friends. Yeah.
Right. That was special talented guest Peter Raymundo taking us on a ride through the wonderful world of Disney and more of his awesome creations. So thank you very much, Peter, and thank you out there for listening or watching this episode of Release Date Rewind. Tell your friends and fellow Disney fanatics about this episode, leave a rating or review or a thumbs up on YouTube, and follow me on Instagram at Release Date Rewind to see more footage from this conversation and from Peter's work. Thanks Straw Hut Media, the You Run Podcast Network, Kyle Motzinger, and the Portland Media Center in Maine. Coming up next on this show, we are totally bugging because school is back in session and it's time to finally celebrate Clueless. And in the parting words of Pocahontas,
no matter what happens, I'll always be with you. Forever.